All right, welcome back to the Standard Podcast, episode 3. I have a very special guest with me today, my beautiful wife, Mitra. And what kicked off this podcast was I came home later, a day last week, and Mitra said to me, "Hey, I think you are missing the mark on how difficult it was for you to make these changes in your life." And she said, "I think you have blocked out some things in your mind. You haven't remembered certain things." And as soon as she said that to me, it was like a light bulb that went off. And I immediately needed to bring you in here because you lived all this. Mm-hmm. You experienced it all. You remember it much better than I have. So I want to make sure that we are open, we're honest for our people watching so they can, again, understand both of our stories and take everything away from it that they can. So thank you for being here, my love.
Thank you for having me.
So on that topic of change, yes, it was very difficult for me to make a change. And I can only imagine how difficult it was for you watching me try to make these changes and stumble time and time again. So can you explain to me or take me back to sort of who your husband was in your eyes at that time with trying to make these changes and overcome these hurdles in my life?
Well, I think in the very beginning, it's the honeymoon phase, and it's us going out and drinking, and at no point had I been aware that your drinking was not normal, because I had never experienced, when I met your dad and understood that he was sober, that was the first time. Of course, I had heard about AA, but I had never actually come in contact with anybody who was part of the program. It's just foreign to me. And because we were young and we didn't yet have kids, it was in a big scale of normal. It
was our fun stage. No responsibilities.
No responsibilities. We both were working. We had goals as individuals, as a couple, as a family, but at no point was your behavior impacting our actual life or livelihood or any drastic outcome. And I would see you say that you wanted to stop drinking, know that you didn't feel good. You always drink more than I did, but I didn't see how it was impacting you. And yes, you would have a hangover. And yes, you would drink so much most times when you did drink that you would pass out. But at no point was it a red flag to me. I had no awareness. That was just out of my scope. You don't have perspective of those sort of things if you've never come across it.
It's all new to you.
Yeah.
It's all new to you. But help me understand, at what point did you ever look at me and look at my physical condition at being 205 pounds, gray, and think to yourself, shit, I think he does have a problem?
Well, the awareness came after I'll rewind. While we were engaged and we had fitness goals, I would see you sabotage your fitness goals with your drinking. But we were in the cycle of life. There were always events. There were always other people's weddings, our wedding, and eliminating alcohol made sense to support a fitness goal for an outcome. But we always just ended up drinking we had fun. We had a lot of fun. There was,
we were caught in the perpetual cycle of what we thought at that time was fun.
Yeah. And normal.
And normal, socially accepted.
Yeah. And because our friends did it, we felt like we also should do it. And then we flash forward to getting married in our honeymoon. And I will say that at that point, I probably should have been aware that your drinking compromised our honeymoon. It compromised your ability to enjoy, to take advantage of all of our days being on a tropical island.
And just to give the watcher some context of that, I unfortunately passed out and didn't make it to a very special dinner that we had planned that night.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, how you felt in that situation. And I know I felt like shit, but again, it's weird that even after that instance, I didn't stop. Something
No.
inside of me still didn't tell me to stop.
Well, I don't think you needed to. There wasn't anything happening that created a moment that there needed to be a change. And I don't think that I think that it's easy for us as humans to overlook emotions that we should feel. We shouldn't overeat, we shouldn't treat people a certain way, we should all of these things. The natural human instinct is most times to push it down and ignore it and move past. So you were given that opportunity to just keep on doing business as usual until we had our firstborn. And then everything changed. And he was still so little, but at that point, that's when I was aware that I needed you to be healthy. I needed you to be present. I needed you to just live a better life, quality of life, be available, all of the things that I realized alcohol was taking away from us. So,
Plus, I think at that point, I needed to lead by a better example as a husband and as a father. Granted, Mason was only 6 months old, but, it's heavy thinking about putting that burden on your shoulders. And I don't think I realized it until I fully took a step back. And maybe it's hitting me even harder right now that, we have a 6-month-old. My wife just gave birth to our 6-month-old son. Everything that goes on with you physically and mentally with that. And then on top of it, you have a husband sitting there who is pretty much self-destructing and trying to keep up this image. So in case I haven't apologized for that, again, I apologize.
Thank you, love.
And, it's easy for me, I guess, to tell my story. But what I'm finding right now, speaking to the men that I've been speaking to and working with some men that I've been working with, is drinking affects the entire family, most importantly, the marriage. And until the husband says or makes a decision to say, I'm making a change, that is a big burden on a wife's shoulders, a massive burden.
I also think that social interactions, I do think there's a lot of wives that probably hold their husbands back from making a change. Because when you think about us before you stopped, there was always a wedding, a date out with couples, all these different things. And you selfishly want your partner
to enjoy the fun,
to drink with you. You don't want to be the only one. And so it's easy if you don't have the awareness, then that's a totally different story. But when you realize that their drinking is an issue and you try to walk this tightrope of wanting them to drink because you want to have fun with them, I do see it's not easy. That you have to go through a moment of time where it's uncomfortable, where it's new, where you do think people are aware that you're not drinking, where you do feel like you have to explain to people that you don't drink or why don't you drink or any of these things. And there is a level of discomfort. And I think that having a wife that is okay going through that discomfort with you, it's not a burden. It's a gift. It's okay. I mean, you don't grow as a person, but I think that looking at life through the lens of an event, a get together, a party,
there's always going to be something.
There's always going to be something. And you're going to miss out on so much of life planning around these events with drinking when you and I have successfully figured out a way to have a social life and go out all the time. I can enjoy a glass of wine.
Have more fun than I think we've ever had.
And I have you.
And you have me. And that's something that I learned early on with putting down alcohol was I finally was able to step up and be the husband and the father that I knew I was meant to be. That's a very strong statement that you had me. And it felt really good to be able to say no matter what hour of the day it was, you can count on me. Whether I need to drive somewhere, bring Mason somewhere, do something for you. So that's something that I want people watching to know that in the beginning, change is very hard. It's going to be uncomfortable. But every single day that goes by, it's a new, fresh perspective on life. Opportunities start opening up. You're able to do much, much more as an individual and as a father and as a husband. So was there any, on the topic of what other people will think, was there any hesitation in your mind telling people that I stopped drinking?
I don't think there was ever hesitation. No, everybody knew you drank, so
That wasn't hard to And listen, I was not a light drinker. I was not a light partier. When I went, I went. I did it, and that's,
I heard stories before I witnessed them myself.
Yeah.
Just about, and not that you were mean or out of control. I think people thought that your comedic timing and sense of humor and your shticks came from alcohol exclusively. And I think you channeling the fact that it is you and the alcohol is not feeding you content. You just happen to be
falling into the trap there. But I can say this, that when I was staring down the barrel of not drinking anymore, the natural thoughts were, am I going to be as fun? Am I going to be as funny? Am I going to be as outgoing? Because like you said, I sort of played this character, and it ties into an identity. I had this identity as Troy the businessman, Troy the guy that's fun, Troy the guy that dances, this, and this. What I didn't realize was how much better I am at all those things without any liquor in my system. And that, again, it took time. It took time. It took me saying I'm not going to miss weddings, nights out with friends, bachelor parties, for me to finally fully step into this new identity of I don't need any substances in my life to be who I am, to be the person that God put me on this earth to be. So, hold on a minute. Okay. So we just talked about the very beginning stages of me putting the alcohol down. I want to talk about May 22nd of 2017. Because I keep preaching, don't wait until it is too late. Don't let a life-altering event force you to change. And I want to share with everybody ultimately what made me change that day. Made me look at myself in the mirror, said, I deserve better, my wife deserves better, my son deserves better. Can you recall that morning for me?
Yep.
Or, let's go to the night before. I'll give the full story. That Sunday, you decide to wake up with your sisters and go to Disneyland, right? 6 a.m. Well, that Saturday prior to that, we were at a wedding, getting drunk, drinking. And I used to drink so much that I would always wake up in the morning, usually probably buzzed still, hungover and buzzed. So I wake up at 6 a.m. I have the house to myself. And in my eyes, I'm thinking, hey, in 6 months, I have not had a Sunday to myself in my home in a long time. I can do whatever I want to do. So I start drinking at 6 a.m. As sick as it sounds, I start drinking. I make plans to go see my cousin, to have breakfast. End up canceling those plans because I can't drive anywhere. I think you and I spoke a few times that day, but there was really nothing that I was saying or that my cousin, when she called you and said I'm drinking, that really alarmed you, because I was just, being me at that time?
When she said Troy tried to make breakfast plans with us and then it canceled, I was like, Melanie, of course he did. He would never. He would never actually leave the house.
That's not it. Yeah, that's not something that I would do. So I drink all day, and Mitra gets home. You get home later that night, and you come walking through the door. And correct me if I'm wrong. Again, my memory is a little fogged with some things, but you walk through the door, and I see a sunburn on Mason's face.
Little rosy cheeks.
Little rosy cheeks. I made it out to be a complete sunburn from head to toe, but yeah, little rosy cheeks. And I wasn't happy about it. And the argument probably started downstairs, and then as we're coming upstairs into our bedroom, I happened to pick up a half a bottle of water, and I throw it up against the wall out of complete frustration. And from my recollection, I lay down and I pass out. The next morning I wake up, probably 6 a.m. again. You had already left the house.
It was a Monday morning. I had to be in downtown LA for work, and I needed to get my sister to LAX to catch a flight to go back home. And for some reason, you told me to take your car. And I get in your car, new 7 Series, and
brand new car at the time.
And we leave early, attempting to miss rush hour with there still be time for me to get to downtown LA by 9 and get her to LAX in time. And I'm driving down the 405 in the HOV lane. It's rush hour, and the car stops completely. And it's not turning on. I'm in a fairly stressful situation in Los Angeles with cars honking, and I call you immediately, and you are physically and mentally unavailable.
I remember that call very well.
And it wasn't that I needed you to physically be there in that moment. That was not the call. That was not the intention of the call. The call is I needed my husband in that moment, and you weren't there. And I hung up in frustration. I had to call 911 because I needed to get a tow truck, and the whole moment just cycloned. But our follow-up call was, you need to make a change.
I remember that.
Because...
Yeah. I remember that call like it was yesterday. And I remember waking up that morning, looking over at Mason after I got off the phone with you. Actually, let me back up. You said something that will always be with me forever. You said to me on that call, Troy, I need you to make a change. And I fell in love with you because when you decide to make a change or you decide to do something, you do it. I don't want to hear any excuses that you need to go to rehab or anything like that. Please just make a change. And you hung up, as you should have. And I remember so vividly looking over at Mason, 6 months old, and thinking to myself, there's an old adage out of AA that says, you feel like a man with no arms and no legs. And that's exactly how I felt. Because I physically couldn't be there for you. I mentally couldn't be there for you. I'm in a complete fog. And I took your words to heart. I looked over at Mason. I got up out of bed, went to the sink, I washed my face off. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, I'm taking this just one day at a time. I deserve better. And if I'm being honest with myself, I don't know if I believed myself at that time. I definitely couldn't see the long path of where I've gotten to. But there was something very powerful in lowering that bar of expectation for myself and just saying, I'm not going to drink today. Mm-hmm. Because all the prior instances dating up to that day, Sunday night, I would drink and I would pour out all the bottles I had in the house so I wouldn't drink Monday morning. But that Monday morning, when I got up and decided to take it one day at a time, we still had liquor up in our cabinet. And I remember I said to myself, okay, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to take this one day at a time. But I need to become more powerful than the liquor that's sitting up there. And I left it up there. And it almost became a challenge to me. How long can I go without touching any of that? And day by day by day by day, things got much better. And fortunately, nobody died. Nobody got in a car accident. I think we got through that remotely easy compared to how others.
Well, we didn't know that there was a storm up ahead too.
There was a massive storm up ahead, which we'll save for later discussion. Yes. But I want to go back to the times that I would come to you and I would say, I want to stop drinking.
So you would do exactly what you said. You would pour out all the liquor. You would say, I'm done drinking.
Get my sweatsuit.
We had it. So before we had kids, our front bedroom upstairs had an elliptical. I think just an elliptical, maybe some weights. And Troy would put on a sweatsuit, like comes around your neck and
to sweat everything out.
And he would just be in there sweating.
Because granted, at this time, I'm 205 pounds. I'm heavy. I'm bloated from overeating, over drinking.
We ate a lot.
Drank a lot.
And You would even take diuretics to attempt to. I mean, it was insanity. Like if you really look at it, it was because after that you would shower. We'd go. Let's go out to sushi, and we would be leaving our house, going down the hill, and there would always be a moment where you would say,
"Just tonight,
we're going out. Let's enjoy." And I would never stop you because, again, I didn't understand it. I didn't get it, and you didn't ask me for help. I wasn't capable of that, and so I'm sure for you, the emotion of saying you're not going to drink and then drinking, there's level. I mean, what the internal battle was one that I would never be able to see, but it kept compounding because each time that you compromised, saying that you were going to stop drinking and you didn't,
it got worse.
It got worse, and it impacts you as a human, your ability to cope with your own emotions. And then
and I think at that point I was drinking myself into an oblivion. And just to give the audience some context of how bad my drinking got, I remember we'd go down to sushi, which was 3 minutes from our house. Halfway to sushi, there was a liquor store, and I would make Mitra stop at the liquor store, and I would load up on mini shooters before we even got to the restaurant. And I remember, if I can recall correctly, I knew in the back of my mind what I was doing was wrong. I knew that this could not be the way to continue to have fun. But it's weird. Something inside of me still didn't make me want to stop. And that takes me to the life-altering event of May 22nd. So if you're talking to a woman right now that is married, who is seeing their husband go down the same path, what kind of words of encouragement or what would you say to her?
I think reassuring her to support her husband, to encourage them to make a change, and ask you for your help to hold them accountable. Because rewind, if I held you accountable, it could have been different. Not that I needed that burden to be on my shoulders. You never asked that situation, but the same way you and I work out in the mornings. Honey, are you going to the gym after you drop the kids off?
Accountability is massive.
And you ask me, I'm going at 9:30. We have our whole routine. If your partner is drinking and it's impacting their quality of life, their health, their ability to work, be happy in the mornings, they have headaches, they're gaining weight, all of those things, you made a commitment to be with them and wanting your partner to be a better person for you, for themselves, for your family. That's what you signed up for. And supporting them in social interactions. Just because all their friends drink and all your family, all your friends, their husbands drink, and it's normalized to have couples that say, oh, well, the hair of the dog, all those things. You don't have to be that. Yeah. You can choose to be different.
Yeah.
And it might feel weird at first. It might feel different. It might take a little bit of getting used to, but feel encouraged. Feel confident. Your husband is ready to do something that not everybody is going to do. Your husband is ready to do something that not everybody can do. It takes discipline. It takes focus. It takes accountability. It's not intended to be the easiest decision. That's not the choice that they're making.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you have played such a pivotal role in my life with the changes I've made, overcoming alcohol, overcoming prescription drugs. The accountability factor is massive. It's also, I believe, having trust and respect for your partner that when they speak up, they're not talking at you, they're talking with you. Like when you told me that morning, hey, I need you to make a change, I didn't get defensive. I, for the first time, heard a woman talk to me and care for me. And to say just the few words that you did, again, immediately it made me accountable to myself and accountable to you, because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I got married because I fell in love. I got married because I trust my wife. I got married for us to grow together, leaps and bounds with everything that we do. Who am I to sit here and continue to try to say that my way is correct when you're living with me, watching me pretty much self-destruct? So again, the accountability factor and the trust factor, trusting your significant other, not feeling like they're doing this, but that they're with you in this journey, I think it's pivotal.
I also think you I didn't tell you what to do. I didn't outline you need to do X, Y, and Z for that to fall under making a change. But when you decided to make a change, it was multifaceted. You, one day at a time, stopped drinking. You started waking up earlier and working out. You started writing down goals and becoming much more committed to your daily intentions and goals, family goals, and the clear mind that surrounded you with not drinking gave you the opportunity to build that. And I would say our family's quality of life changed
drastically.
I don't even think tenfold, 100. I mean, it's just, it's one for the books. I mean, it really, sitting down writing every single day, gratitude, small things. We always had family dinner. We sat at the table. Of course, we still went out to eat, but the things that slowed us down, it was just all encompassing. It wasn't just a singular, Troy's not drinking. There was a huge shift, and it impacted our family in a beautiful way. Yeah. But I think that you did a lot of hard work, and the weight didn't come off immediately.
No.
I mean, you still had to wear the sweatsuit to the gym.
Sweatsuit, intermittent fasting.
Yes.
I started watching what I was eating.
Yeah.
I cut out meat.
Yeah.
Where does that sound? I cut it out meat. So yeah.
We were vegetarian for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of drastic lifestyle changes that we made, but it wasn't easy. I mean, it was an overnight decision, but it took discipline. And it was well worth it. There's no part of looking back at it that alcohol in any capacity would have fit into the equation.
No, and I was reminded of this, but the standard was built. The first pillar, the first line of the standard, I believe, was built 9 years ago when I put down the alcohol. Because I have now shown my kids what it's like to live without any substances in me. I've shown my kids what it's like to go out and have fun, to be present with their mother, I mean, some of my best memories with you are when you and I are driving home from dinner with the kids, and I've got my arm, on your neck. And I always, in those moments, I thank God, because it could be much different. I could be in the passenger seat, drunk. Mm-hmm. But now, setting that standard for our kids and showing them that, hey, mom still can enjoy a glass of wine. I'm not the type to say, because I'm not drinking, nobody can drink. Mm-hmm. No. Again, I had to become more powerful than that substance. So the first line of the standard was absolutely built because it is such a social norm. I mean, you see it everywhere. Matt had a great example the other day. He said, if you're a heroin addict, it's hard to find heroin. If you're an alcoholic, alcohol's everywhere. So again, drawing that line in the cement and showing my kids, not just with words, but with actions, moving forward, this is the standard that we live by. And mm-hmm. alcohol does not fit into my standard. Right? I mean,
not at all.
Not at all. So when I was drinking a lot, mm-hmm. what were the warning signs, either in the way that I spoke, the way that I looked, the way that I went about my day, what were the subtle, small changes that you started seeing that you started thinking to yourself, you know what? I don't know if this is the right path for Troy.
I think when you look back at events, dinners, just leaving the house in general, being accountable for your partner's behavior and keeping a tally of maybe how much they've drank and feeling like you have to pay attention for red flags. They're getting close to their limit. We should be leaving soon. Those are subtle ones where the night needs to come to an end and it's no longer we're both having fun. I'm trying to make sure that we just get home.
And get us home in one piece.
Before who knows. So that's sometimes you don't realize it's happening because you've been doing it for so long. You don't realize that you're carrying the weight of trying to have fun while monitoring and
babysitting.
Babysitting,
yeah.
And I'm sure that in most relationships with people who both drink, there is a natural relationship. I'm drinking tonight, you're driving, you're drinking. Next, we'll trade off. I'm sure that
Sure.
I mean, that happens. That is much more normalized, which is crazy, but getting to the point where you need to manage your partner's drinking shows that there is a problem.
Something's wrong.
And I don't drink to get drunk. I don't drink with the intention of ever waking up with a headache. I enjoy a glass of wine as like almost the ritual of this is relaxation, and that, whether right or wrong, is my decision. And I'm still drinking water, and I'm waking up and I'm going to the gym, and it's not impacting.
And I give you all that power because towards the end, I had no off switch. The off switch was when I hit that couch and passed out or our bed. And that's scary to think that I had no off switch. It didn't matter really what you were saying. It didn't really matter what the party was doing. If there was liquor left, I was drinking it.
Yeah.
And that is
But not everybody's like that.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
There are people who their drinking may not be to the level of Troy Lair at 27 years old. So our group, the majority of people who I think are coming across your content are people who have successfully been drinking their entire life, who
Correct.
have stayed married, who have kids, grade level kids, middle school, high school, and have been operating business as usual within the normalization of tonight I drink, tomorrow you drink, maybe we both drink, whoever drinks less drives, the whole mess. And I think recognizing that doesn't work. And of course there's people who you can flash forward, they will be married for 60 years, be old and gray, and still do the same thing. Of course. But why? Why miss out on so much more of life just because you're going to do the same cycle that perhaps your dad did and your uncles do and your siblings do? Why? When there is so much more, why?
And that's a big reason why I will continue to get on camera and continue to speak with somebody like you, is because the changes that we have made in our lives, yes, you can call us the 1%, but I want there to be an awareness out there that this is not how life needs to be. You can watch us, you can listen to us, you can talk to us and realize that we have built a life for ourselves that is outside of that social norm. And if I think back to when I was really in the trenches of drinking, I wasn't ready to let go of the social norm, of that identity. I wasn't ready to maybe grow up. I think I still had an inner child in me that wanted to stay young, wanted to have fun, and I didn't know what the other side of that looked like.
Well, there's a comfort in being out in public with a drink in your hand.
Absolutely.
And I think even the way that if you're ordering a Diet Coke, you order a short glass with a lime. And that has become almost a ritual for the last I think that was a change that you made almost immediately to make it so that you felt like to the outside, Troy Lair was drinking.
Yeah, I want to touch on that. In the beginning, I definitely felt a lot of pressure of what is somebody going to say to me if I tell them I don't drink? How is somebody going to respond to me if they ask me what I want to drink and I say a Diet Coke? So I always took it upon myself to get to the bar first, to get a drink for you, to get a drink for myself, but I would always get a Diet Coke in a short glass with a lime. Maybe at that time, so it kind of looked like I was drinking. And that, it's funny that you bring that up because there were several instances, I don't remember exactly which party we were at, that I wasn't drinking, but I was dancing and I was having fun. And I think somebody said either to me or to you, I think Troy was drunk or buzzed up that night because he was out on the dance floor, but I wasn't. Again, so it became sort of a game for me of how much fun could I have with everybody not realizing that I'm not doing what everybody's doing. Right?
Yeah. But it did take the social discomfort at first and figuring out how to be in the real world where everyone is drinking, how to go to a bar, how to go to a restaurant, how to go to a wedding and feel confident and have fun and not allow any social pressure to impact your mindset. Because it wasn't anybody else. It wasn't...
Yeah, it's a single journey.
Yeah.
It's a solo journey.
Yeah.
It's a lot to put on your shoulders. But the other side of it could be much, much worse. The story that we have could be much, much worse when it comes to alcohol.
And say that nothing bad happened. Say that the car didn't stop and we just kept on just living life. It would be moments, memories, celebrations, all of these that you might get too drunk, you might not remember, you might have a headache and you miss a ball game. It could be all these things, and those things are people's every day. That is real life for so many people, and I don't think they even realize that there's an option to just stop drinking, to just live life.
Or that there's a beautiful life outside of drinking.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on something, and I didn't realize this until probably the last maybe 2 years. But to me, it is very selfish of a husband to drink in a manner that puts themselves and their wife at risk. I have to remind myself, even to today, the role of a wife, I believe, is more important than the role of a husband. I believe that the wife holds down the house. And if I'm sitting there burdening her thoughts, maybe burdening some of her actions with my selfish ways, again, it's very selfish. I was not able to, while I was drinking, realize the weight that you pulled around our house. The meals that you made, the clothes that you folded, the feeding the babies. I mean, there is so much that comes with being a wife that, again, I believe it's very selfish for us to be doing things as men, for our wives to even second guess our physical health, our mental health, our relationship amongst one another, right? I mean, it's something that, I tell you this all the time, you have the hardest job in the house. And I couldn't even imagine how hard that job could be or would be if I was intoxicated.
I feel like sometimes you don't realize it, but when you have a partner that drinks, you are unintentionally living parallel lives because I'm living the life of awareness, of living, handling the emotions, the big choice, all of these. And when your partner is compromised, having fun, whatever, being sick, whatever that may be, they don't remember or recall everything that's going on. So at the end of the night, it's like a reset. And everything that I just endured is almost wiped away from your memory, but I'm carrying it.
Yeah, that is so powerful. And I remember it seemed like just about every single morning, I would have to wake up and first recall what I did, what I said. And there was always usually something that I said or that I did that deserved an apology. And I could only imagine how it felt for you having to wake up as a wife, as a mother, taking care of our kids, waking up to somebody who doesn't recall what happened the night before or is cloudy with their memory on that. And then I just dish out a I'm sorry as if everything should go away. That's got to be a compounding feeling like I've never felt. That's got to be, I don't know, how is that? It's again, it's heavy for me because I'm the one who caused all this. But to the people watching, to the men watching, waking up every morning, even if it's not every morning, even if it's once a week or once a month, that's heavy. That's heavy.
Yes. Thankfully, we are so far from those emotions that it's not easy to tap them. They're heavy, though. They are, and they compound, and they make it hard for you as the wife and mother to stay grounded because you're reactive, because you're preparing for the next time and how you have to be in survival mode because of your
actions,
because of alcohol. It's outrageous. And the impact that you feel being in survival mode and not having them remember and having to retell a story, it's insanity. It's one that you should, it's one thing a few times, but when you have over years of a marriage, the idea of that, it's not healthy. It shouldn't continue. I mean, you can look at it and hear this and say, I'm living that life. I don't have to keep doing that. Yeah. It's okay for our family to make a change because, one of my goals, your goals in this life is longevity. We want to live long, healthy lives. And those behaviors and those emotions and your body being in survival mode, you can't expect to be a mom living a long and healthy life, feeling those emotions weigh you down.
Whew. Thank you for sharing that. I want to talk about also, I remember all the times leading up to May 22nd and being faced with, okay, I have some cleaning up to do with my wife. And in my mind and in my perception of things, I always wanted things to be quick. Hey, babe, I'm sorry, let's move past it. Hey, babe, I'm sorry, let's move past it. And in my mind, I thought it was a big uphill battle of winning back your trust, of winning back your love. But correct me if I'm wrong. The moment that I decided to make a change and take it one day at a time, not through words, but through actions, slowly but surely I started gaining back your trust and your love from all the damage that I had created before that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's the natural ebb and flow of a relationship. So the more dedication, focus, intention that you gave every day, it naturally softened and allowed me to just feel more confident that you were making a change and you were committed to that change. And I've always told you about just the infinity sign, the way that relationships are, the ups and downs, the ebb and flow. You naturally feel that. You naturally feel safer, and as a woman, you get to feel softer when your partner is doing the right things for your family moving forward.
When your partner's softer. For many, I want to share this. For many years, when I was drinking and I was using prescription drugs, I had an excuse as to why I was doing it. And a lot of the times that excuse, that finger went right at you. Mm-hmm. I'm doing this because you're doing that. I'm doing this because you're doing that. And I forget where I was going with that. It is so easy to get caught up in this perpetual cycle of I'm doing this, I'm doing these actions because it's a byproduct of the way that you're acting. It's a byproduct of the way that you're talking to me. I would say to you all the time, Mitra, you're being hard. But goddamn, did I need to look in the mirror and figure out, well, why is my wife being so hard? She's being hard because she has a fucking hammer coming at her every single day.
It was a boundary.
It was a boundary.
Yes.
It was a boundary. But it took me time to understand that when I finally put the substances down, when I finally became soft, when I finally was able to get on your level, did the magic happen with you becoming softer to me. I don't think you ever changed as a person. That's a good word. You had a boundary in place. And to me, it felt like I was throwing the hammer and it was coming right back at me hard. I was trying to say something to you. You weren't hearing it. There's many times that I would say I love you and you would say I love you back and I wouldn't feel it, probably because, again, you are in survival mode. Mm-hmm. You have this guard up, rightfully so. And if I could take myself back to the crazy ways that I drank, the shooters on the way to sushi, the hiding bottles around the house, I was inevitably creating a hard environment for everybody around me, which in return created a hard individual in you who had to set boundaries, who had to stand up for herself, who had to finally on May 22nd say, I'm going to hold you accountable. I need you to make a change. And again, that's a very heavy burden for a female to carry. And I want people to hear this when I say this. The perpetual cycle of drinking, of over drinking, it's only natural that you're going to, in some way, be verbally abusing your spouse. Because you are now saying things that are usually outside of your character, and you are creating, for lack of better words, you're creating a different spouse than the one that you got married to. You're the one who's transforming her into something that you don't like. As crazy as that sounds, your actions are making her turn into somebody that you don't like.
Yeah. And I just think...
And I couldn't get past that. I kept blaming the outside forces, the way that you were acting. I kept having a justification for every single time I drank. And it's sick to think about, but on the other end of it, the moment that you have a little bit of clarity and you say to yourself, I'm responsible for everything. I'm responsible for everything. That I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm the only one that can change this. That's the only time change is going to happen. You taking 100% accountability for yourself and for your actions. To wrap this up, I want to say thank you with all of my heart for standing by me throughout the years, for trusting and believing in me all these years. And to anybody watching this right this second that's in the same boat that I was in, it is so important that you sit down with your significant other like I am right now. And you're vulnerable. You're open. You're open to hearing what she has to say. And you're also able to sit down with her and say, here's the plan that I have going forward. Here's the change that I want to make. Because again, the accountability factor with that, even if your wife doesn't say anything, will be there mentally.
Thank you for having me, honey.
Love you.
Love you.